best thing you said in that was let them be themselves, right? Let them be themselves. Don't overcoach them. Help them, right? Get in the driver, get in the passenger seat next to them and help them take those next steps forward, right? Like that's, to me, that is the key to guys that are this talented and guys that are this good. You don't come over there and you don't try and take parts away from them, who they are. You don't try and break them down and build them up. Sure, if we hit a crossroads where a guy plateaus, where a guy's not developing or it's not working out that way, then we do need to pull back the layers. There's always a time for that, right? Everything, it depends. But when you initially get these guys in and you're starting this development process of this, like, let them be who they are, start to add some of that training in, get in the passenger seat, communicate, like you said, work out, like, hey, what are things that are making you comfortable? What do we like that's working for you? What can we do to get you to that top level? Because that's our job. The coaches that are at those levels that are in player development, whether the coordinators or the lower level hitting coaches, who thankfully baseball is starting to hire, they're really taking their time hiring those guys because they're seeing how important it is to make those investments and get those homegrown guys. So what you have to do is those people in those positions, they have to, in my mind, it is just so important to understand that player, right? When you get this guy in, this is someone who's super talented. That's how he's gotten there. Understand who they are as a player, who they are as a person, what works for them, so that then you can, again, be in the passenger seat with them in their development. You are helping them. You are guiding them along the way. You are letting them be them. You are, throwing in some things. Like Kierstad really loves, maybe he loves mixed BP. Great, let's roll it out there. Let's do that. A guy like Hendrick, maybe he likes, he wants the heavy velo or the slider machine. Great, let's do that more. Let's build that in. Let's see why. Let's break down the video of it. Let's work together to make sure. You can't just break them down right away and McKinnon, like, okay, we drafted you because you are a freak athlete. You are a great baseball player. You have a ton of power, but we don't like the weight. We don't want you to swing and miss less. Well, now you're just focusing on the weakness. Like, improve the weakness too, but why are we only focused on the weakness? Let's lock in on the fact that this guy is an unbelievable hitter. He's unbelievable juice. He's a really good athlete. Let's focus on that. Let's work with that. Let's continue to build that up and make that better. Because guess what? Boom. You're talking about with Gallo and how he's just unlocked it. That's what the Rangers have done. That's what he did. He continued to work on the power. And then he slightly every year got better. It took a process. It took a long time process. And now look, Joey Gallo is an MVP candidate.
Yeah. And you freaking nailed that. I mean, I just got to say that because in scouting, I feel like when you're player evaluating as an organization, it's always this guy needs to improve this to be this. That's the first thing everybody talks about. Reed Detmers needs more low. Austin Martin needs more power. Nick Gonzalez needs to be taller. Like even things that guys can't control. We always are so obsessed with the negative. Well, why don't we just pull up the film, love on the guy that we're taking in the top 10, and let him be himself? Because they're a top 10 talent for a reason. They are part of the top 1% of the 1%.
Right.
To make it to minor league baseball, you're a 1% guy of guys who played baseball. These guys who are at the top are the 1% of the 1%. These are the best baseball players year in and year out in the world. But so many times we get you into PD, we get you into player development, and I'm going to say that what's the best thing an organization can do is combine what your scouts say is good and factor it into your player development,
right,
and use it to make that player the most successful he can be. And what happens if the guy fails and it doesn't work out? Well, the guy's going to come to you when he fails and he's struggling because these guys want to be successful. They feel no different when they struggle and fail than me and you felt, whether they signed for $5.7 million or we were playing Division II and Division III baseball. We all feel the same. We're all human beings. And that's when you go to the coach. And that's when, as a coach, you step in and go, hey, let's figure it out. Let's dive in on the video. Let's do this. But up until that point, you're just a guy, pump him up, pump his chest up, tell them how good they are. If they're struggling, be like, dude, you made it here. Like, you're good enough to be here. You're better than most of the people in the world. And then they'll come to you when they're struggling. I mean, if you listen to the best coaches in the world, I mean, you go listen to some coaching podcasts and listen to the real good guys talk, the big league hitting coaches, even some of the best, like the Darren Eversons in the world, Doug Latta's. It's all about the person and just pumping them up and confidence and things like that, because they're like, the guys who get to us, they're like, they've had so many at bats. They're just successful with who they are, and
Right.
like we'll step in when they need our help. But other than that, no, like we'll just pump them up and let them go out there and do their thing and preach individuality and what works for them, and then just be a sports psych guy. You're just a mental coach at that point when you're a big league hitting coach, because those guys are so good. And any coach any hitting coach who comes out and says that they're a hitting coach, not an assistant hitting coach, because at the end of the day, the player is the best hitting coach they can be. They've had so many swings that have worked for them. Every hitting coach in the world is an assistant hitting coach to the
That's how
player.
it has to be. That's how it has to. If you want to get the most out of these guys, and for some reason we take development, that word, and it seems to be like, well, how do we develop this guy? You make him better. Okay, how do you do that? We focus on the weaknesses. It's like, no, I just disagree with that. What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out the Backside Groundball podcast on YouTube. To listen to full episodes, we are currently streaming on whatever app you listen to get your podcast. Please help us out by subscribing to the show, as well as here on YouTube, so you never miss any of our awesome content. If you ever have a question or just want to talk baseball with Trevor and myself, go ahead and follow both of us. Our Twitters are in the description below. We love talking baseball, and we appreciate our fans.